We can go to record. Thank you so much. Good morning, Bhpac. Welcome to your November meeting. We've got a lot to cover today. So welcome to our second hybrid meeting. I'm going to walk us through the agenda and then we're going to go into roll call. We're going to approve the minutes today, have a review of the minutes and possible a discussion. A big part of today is membership committee and applications. It's time to move us forward, and everyone that has been waiting to join us, we need to review and talk about those applications and start filling all those vacant seats. I am ready to have everybody. So while you're on the call today, I want you to be thinking about your subcommittees. We're going to be bringing back today treatment, prevention, recovery, and membership. It still remains, but we're going to need a chairperson for each. So I'm going to be moving us forward today in a very big way. It's time to return back to our normal functioning selves. And I'll get into this part of the agenda and we'll talk more deep about it. But I would like you all to start thinking about which subcommittee and if you want to nominate yourself to chair, because everything's going to need to be chaired. Before you get anxious, the main commission will remain hybrid, but your subcommittee work we're going to do, and I've already talked to Donda, we are going to be able to break those out into technical rooms through Zoom. So for your committee work, we're going to remain virtual. So that way, don't feel that there's a big change coming for you there. So that way we can get the group participation happening. Then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to do what's going on in Colorado through prevention, treatment, and recovery. And then the state always goes and does the BHA legislative update and all the other changes that are happening at the state. So that's your agenda for today. It's a working agenda. We are going to be busy. I am going to officially say today is going to be less structured so we can have more communication in an unstructured setting. But that doesn't mean let's step on each other and cut each other off. But I need us to have a fluid conversation about applications and the committee. And I need us to have conversations when it's time to talk about subcommittee work and getting ready to start making recommendations to the BHA for this year's SAMHSA block grant funding. So today is going to be communicative. Just do your best to raise your hand and I'll do my best to keep some sense of order to everything. All right, at that point, we can move now to roll call.
Okay, and Bob, let's go ahead and start with who's in the room with you there so we have everybody.
Bob Dorsheimer.
Lloyd Moore, person recovery.
Lloyd Moore.
Lorraine Hernandez. That's my old name.
Lorraine Hernandez.
And you go Doherty with the BHA.
That's who we have in the hybrid side.
Okay, and let's go ahead and let's start with Lori Banks. You're still on mute, Lori.
Laura Dykes. Oh, I was going to say once a day that happens to me. Good morning, Lori Banks, Aurora Mental Health Center.
Thank you. Natalie Brown.
Good morning, everyone. Nat Brown, Summit Stone Health Partners. I'm program manager for our peer services team, Spirit Crossing Clubhouse, and supported employment. Good to see you all.
Thank you. Laura Dykes.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's Laura Dykes, Colorado Coalition for the Homeless, formerly on the treatment committee.
Thank you. James Gannon.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's ready for the snow. I am. I'm a person and active in sustained recovery and the director of programs at Advocates for Recovery Colorado, and I've sat on the recovery committee.
Thank you, James. Margie Grimsley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Margie Grimsley with the Colorado Federation of Families for Children's Mental Health, and I was on the prevention committee as well as membership.
Thanks, Margie. Stephanie Johnson.
Good morning. I'm Stephanie Johnson with Well Power here in Denver.
Thank you. Gloria McDaniel.
Good morning, Gloria McDaniel here, current president of the Colorado Association of Addiction Professionals and executive director of Grisalida Inc. and a person in long-term recovery.
Thank you. Shannon Miller. Did I not see Shannon? I guess I did not see Shannon. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and go with Debbie Oldenetto.
Thank you. I apologize. I can't figure out my camera is not working today. So hopefully at some point I'll get it going. Debbie Oldenetto, I'm the Deputy Director of the Division of Criminal Justice within the Department of Public Safety.
Thank you. Leora Joseph.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Leora Joseph. I'm the new director for the Office of Civil and Forensic Mental Health, formerly called OBH.
Thank you. Darby Remley.
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. Darby Remley, Supported Employment Coordinator and Trainer with the Division of Voc Rehab.
Thank you. Kristen Toombs. Kristen, are you able to unmute?
Kristen put her stuff in the chat. She's not feeling well today, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Angie Wold.
Hi, I'm Angie Wold. I am the Director of Operations for Addiction Research and Treatment Services and also a part of the treatment committee.
Thank you. Jacob Fry.
Morning, everybody. Jacob Fry with Sobriety House.
Thank you. Megan Stott.
Good morning, I'm Megan Stott, and I'm a person in sustained recovery, and I'm the statewide association coordinator with Colorado Mental Wellness Network.
Thank you. Annette Zacharias.
I'm Annette Zacharias with Family Housing Network, and I'm a guest. So thank you for letting me join you again. And I look forward to the membership committee and their application process.
Great. Thank you, Annette. Angela Schuff. How do you say it?
Good morning. I'm Angela Schuff, and I'm a person in active and sustained long-term recovery.
Thank you. Candace CA. You guys got to help me here.
I know it's a weird one. My name is Candace C. I am a woman living in active and sustained recovery, and I serve as the Southwest Region Manager for Advocates for Recovery.
Thank you. Ann Herbst.
Hi, I'm Ann Herbst, Executive Director of Young People in Recovery. I'm also a visitor.
Thank you. Let's go with Bonnie Holiday.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bonnie Holiday. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a program manager at CDPHE, and I work in community prevention and early intervention. And for the purposes of this group, I'm your prevention TA, that stands for Technical Assistance Provider. So here to provide any support or resources related to all things prevention.
Thank you. And let's try Aaliyah Andrews.
Hi, everybody. Aaliyah Andrews, Recovery Services Manager at the BHA. Everything Bonnie said, only in regards to recovery.
And is there anybody else I missed? Perfect. And I am Donda Gorton. I'm with the Behavioral Health Administration, and I will be your administrative, whatever you want to call me today. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Bob.
We're going to call you boss lady because you're amazing. We appreciate you. Rock star. All right, everyone, please pull out the minutes from last month. I'd like you to review them for edits, suggestions, corrections, or praise. Let's take 1 minute to review, and then I'll need a motion. Then we'll open it for discussion, and then we'll take the vote.
I have a question on the minutes. I noticed that for the hybrid status now, we're putting in P for, well, maybe we did that before and I never noticed it, P for being on the phone. And I am wondering if we need to note like V for video conference instead of P. I know that we do that for certain things in our organization because there are different rules between phone only and video component. So I'm just curious if any others think that way.
I like that.
That is all up to Donda, and I will pass that authorization to her.
Other than that, I thought the minutes were great and I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Do I have discussion? By the use of your electronic hands, please put them up so I can count.
Hey, Bob, there was a quick question in the chat about whether or not the state employees are voting members of the board. You might want to address that.
They are not voting members of the board. They are here for technical assistance and support.
The agency seats.
The agency seats are voting members. The agency guests are not. I'm sorry for that. But they've always abstained when they took votes on SAMHSA funding. But they abstain when we take votes on funding and recommendations the state employees do. Because we are made up of a community group. So they can vote on everything else except when we make our recommendations back to the department. All right, it passes unanimously, the minutes. Thank you so much, everybody. The next part, we are going to spend some time talking about a very exciting piece of information I was offered during executive session with Lloyd last week. We've got and membership committee. We have a bunch of people waiting to join. So we're going to move on that today. Like I said, I'm going to move us forward pretty quickly in November and December, because in January, once our committees are established today, we'll start reviewing statistics and things the best we can so we can start making data-driven recommendations on prevention, treatment, and recovery for the block grant funding that's coming. So it's our recommendation and work year in subcommittee starting in 2023. That being said, Chairperson Lloyd, you have the floor.
All right, Lloyd here. If you paid attention in your email, one of the first things is that we did get a application put together. That application is similar to what was done with Bhpac, which is it's online only. And what's nice about it is it gives us a little more ability to ask some questions besides the fact that it automatically puts it into a spreadsheet. Have somewhere between 5 or 8 people holding in a queue waiting for that application to come out. I have not received emails back communication wise, whether or not people did anything with getting that filled out. And I think the one person that I may have missed on the email is Jacob, who's here with us today. That's been one of the people waiting in the wings. So we'll be working on that. Right now, we've got what wasn't included in the email, we do have 1-page introduction to come out with the email. Somebody's not muted. If you could mute yourself. Thank you. The one piece that we do need to finish up, but we're going to proceed without it, is our information packet. So we need to do some updates with it still. So like I said, we got 5 to 8 people. I need to get back on top of our membership roster because we do have some people that rotated off, just not because of end term limits. It's also because of lack of participation over the last not just year, but 2 years. So by our bylaws, I've communicated with those people at least, and they are not interested in continuing or cannot be present. And participation in this council is a key piece to us functioning. So the prior procedure or precedent that's been set has been that any of those that have not participated, that have missed 3 times, we've been doing a lot more trying to keep our roster up, are looked at being removed from council. So I think the biggest vote's going to come back in, not in December for adding people to council.
Do you have people today that you would like us to review?
I do not know if Jacob has submitted the new application or not. Jacob?
I have not. I wasn't sure where we were at with that, and so I didn't know if you were going to review the application you already had, or if I need to fill out a new one.
If you would fill out the new one, because there are some different categories that are check boxes that we do need to know to meet to try to get the diversity we have on council and get you into the right category.
Can you fill it out now?
Lloyd, I was going to go ahead and go through the application so people can see the differences, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Jacob's background with where he's working and everything else. So I think we could proceed with voting Jacob on, even though we don't have a new application on board.
Jacob, you're welcome to do the new application today while we're online, and we'd love to vote for you since you've been around for a while attending, and we'd like to have that conversation with you.
Okay, let me see if I can get that put together and stand by, I guess. Thank you.
Donna, you know this application the best with helping us put it together. Do you want to walk us through it?
Sure. We start out, we have the very few required fields. We definitely want an email address, first and last name. Instead of your actual address, we're asking what state or county you're representing. Telephone number, so we have a way to contact you, as well as a contact email, because we know some people want to be contacted at more than one email. If you're
wait, do we need both of those email fields? We need email and then contact email?
Right now I have it as required. I can always take that out if we want to just do one.
I mean, if the top field was just contact email, if you want to make sure that's
Okay.
where people want to be contacted, in my opinion.
I will go ahead and take one of those out.
Since everyone loves filling out forms online so much.
Oh, yes. I was just noticing that when I was filling it out so we could go. Agency or organization you're going to represent, and their phone number in case there's any questions on the organization. Your gender, we do have the non-binary and preferred not to say, as well as other, so people can fill in as they feel. Age group you fit into, that way we can make sure we are well represented in ages. Ethnicity, we also have the 2 or more races. And that way, if people feel like they fit into one category, we do have ways to move that forward as well. Categories of representation. We have lived experience or person in recovery for substance abuse, and then lived experience for dual diagnosis and mental health. We have family members of adult, adolescent, or child for both substance use or mental health. An advocate, community partner or advocacy organizations, state agency. We have our prevention specialist, substance use treatment provider, mental health treatment provider, and recovery. Trying to make sure we hit everything that SAMHSA is asking us for there.
Sorry, so clarifying question. I know this is something that's come up before. When people do choose more than one category, which a lot of people would, how do we count that? And how do you say what your representation is? I know that in the past, in our meetings, you know, we have a certain percentage requirement, and I feel it could well get kind of really inundated with provider folks who are picking multiple categories rather than folks with just lived experience, if that makes sense to people. So I know we need to do that, but I'm curious how we count when people pick more than one.
Lord, do you want to respond to that? Because I know we spoke about it.
Okay, so when people pick a multiple category that is conflicting with our various categories, such as people with lived experience versus community providers versus treatment providers versus our state, is that the membership committee will reach out to them and have a conversation and determine which category they best fit in. One of the things that we do run into mostly is somebody applying with lived experience, but actually work in and provide actual treatment, or that they're a director of a treatment provider. So those ones, even if they have the lived experience because of the type of job they do, they're on the professional side. So we then move those, have those categorized under the treatment providers. Big reason for that in the past is our experience in the past. That was a change we probably made 6 years ago in kind of a procedural, is we found that those people, even though they had lived experience, is that their time on council was spent representing their agency as opposed to representing themselves as lived experience. So anybody that is checking multiple boxes, or maybe we might have a question with, we'll reach out to them.
I'm wondering if we would have a primary and secondary role. So for myself, as an example, I could say family member, and then I would say treatment provider, mental health. Well, I would say behavioral health treatment provider, or I'd have to click both substance use and mental health also. But if you force me to say my primary role for serving on the committee would be as a treatment provider, my secondary would probably be as a family member. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. And so with, for example, with you, we put you in the category of a treatment provider. If somebody just works for a treatment provider, but they're not providing, their role with that provider is not doing treatment, then we would look at placing them in the lived experience.
Right. I mean, if that's clear to everybody else.
Any further discussion? Go ahead, Donda.
Okay, after that, we have the area that you represent, whether it be urban and metropolitan, suburban, rural, frontier, or statewide representation. We have the client population you focus on, as well as any additional focus areas you have as a member of the council. This is where we had talked about putting things such as the LGBTQ community, the Latinx community, whatever else you can focus on to make sure we have that route well-rounded. We have listed our core principles, including the 51% membership, being the consumer, client, family member, and advocacy. We requested, why are you interested in serving? Your skills and strengths, eager to recruit a diverse membership, how you might contribute to that, and involvement with behavioral health issues, organizations, and groups. And then the last was talking about our obligations, making it a point to make sure they can attend a meeting once a month on the first Thursday from 9 to 12. That they would join a subcommittee, and that they understand that submitting the application does not guarantee them being on the council. Once we get all that, we get that all into a spreadsheet, and Lloyd and the membership committee gets to review and go from there. We do have a question in the chat. Do you have to live in Colorado to be on the committee? They have, there's somebody that's organization is headquartered in Upland, but personally lives out of state. So I will let our chairs handle that.
Yeah, it's a state-bound commission.
Yeah, I don't know, but she was very happy.
Further information, Lloyd?
I do not believe so at this time. Be looking for an email to come out with the soon not sure if it will be within the next week, but it will be within the next 2 weeks for sure. That contains the one page, just kind of an introduction to who we are as a council, and then the informational packet will also be attached that goes into more detail of what we do.
Does the one-page introduction need to be vetted and approved through us? What's the structure that you're asking for our next meeting?
So for our next meeting, we'll take a look, before our meeting, membership will take a look at the applications we have received. And then we'll look at vetting, if membership gives the okay on those, we'll bring those to council, where we'll ratify those people. And then the way the procedure actually works is the director of has the final check off on the people that we're making a recommendation.
Sounds great. Any further questions from membership committee? Okay. As I talked about at the beginning, in 2023, it's time for us to start taking a look at data, take a look at what our previous recommendations were, and start making new recommendations as to the block grant funding. We are an advisory body, so we take a look at data, we take a look at working with our TAs from the state. So we'll hear from prevention, we'll hear from recovery. Do we have a treatment TA?
Good point.
We'll look towards the state in getting, we haven't. It's always been the state director. Okay, so we have a state director now, which is absolutely amazing. So we'll take a look at data so we can start making those recommendations based on what we see. What I think is going to be interesting this year is this is our first post-pandemic recommendations. So we have to take a look at what is the need as we rebound from these past 2 years, because the recommendations we've made were during the pandemic, that cycle. Now we're coming out of the pandemic and the needs have changed. So I think data is going to help drive the best we can get the data right now. I do think data will help drive some of that conversations, but we need to look at what we've done in the past and we need to look towards the future. And we need to have that conversation as to post-pandemic care. So that being said, it is time to return to our treatment, prevention, recovery, and then we have a membership committee. Now, I absolutely realize that we have the ability, thank you, Lorraine, we have the ability to add committees. I know Margie would want probably a family and adolescent committee, which I would support. But for right now and for today's purposes, we need to fulfill the role of the block grant and those domains. Once I get these block grant responsibilities chaired and people attending these memberships, I would like us then to have a conversation about ad hoc committees to make sure that we are doing the work of Coloradans and that we're representing those. So I'm very comfortable with also moving forward with families and adolescents as a ad hoc committee. So just know we will have that conversation because it's been important. Just about everywhere I've gone, we're all talking about Coloradans families right now. Okay, so I'm going to start with treatment. I would like to know who would like to nominate themselves or somebody else to chair the treatment committee. And don't make me have to call people out and appoint you. I see some amazing people up on my screen.
Bob, this is Margie. Would it be helpful for people to know who's on, kind of self-identify who's on the different committees?
You know,
Or
the way
is
I
that
would,
not timely?
the way I was looking at it, Margie and everyone, is we're starting fresh. So these, if you've been on the committee before and you want to say that you're on the committee now, that's great. But today is actually just a brand new start. So I did not bring the committee assignment list of what work we've done before. So today is really a fresh start where everyone can just re-sign up for where they've been. So
Then just one more, if maybe just briefly, what is the responsibility of the chair?
well, the responsibility of the chair for each one of the subcommittees is to convene your subcommittee. We will be convening the subcommittees via Zoom so everyone can participate. And we create, by looking at the recommendations, prior recommendations, and we take a look at what current data shows us. What the chair in the subcommittee will be doing is creating recommendations and moving that forward. So the training that you will receive in December is a review of the application that we turned in so we can see what the state's recommendations were after they saw ours. So we'll take a look at that application, we'll take a look at the recommendations, we'll take a look at the data, and then you start building out those recommendations in your subcommittee. So the chair's responsibility is helping craft, helping coordinate, and working with your colleagues, peers to make that recommendation.
Bob, I have it set up to where everybody can assign themselves into a subcommittee and then maybe let the subcommittee see who's in there to see who would be a good chair.
Okay,
Would that work?
it would work.
Okay, let's go ahead and open the rooms.
Stand by for some cool stuff.
Hopefully. Did the rooms open up for everybody?
Donda, if we're already on one, should we go to our second? Is membership a standalone or?
That is up to you guys.
I guess this is Margie. I'm on membership, but I'm going to prevention. If anyone cares.
And can you guys all get into your rooms? Good, okay. So please feel free to join whatever rooms you want. And then Bob, just let me know. Debbie, go ahead.
I don't see how she's
I
doing
think I
it.
mentioned this last time. Is there anything in particular you're looking for from the state organization? So I'm representing public safety and just trying to figure out my role on this committee.
So Debbie, that's an excellent question. So how we've liked our state partners to work with BPAC in the past. And I'm sorry for being so informal with you. Excuse me.
You're fine.
So if you're seeing something trending within your department and your department has an interest in how our Indigent Care Block Grant dollars are being spent. So this is a safety net SAMHSA program. These dollars come into the BHA and then they get disseminated out through the MSOs, which are managed service organizations that contract for these monies. Then these monies flow to people that don't fit into Medicaid properly, don't have money. It's a safety net catchment, healthcare of last resort. So that being said, Debbie, whatever is trending out of your departments and the things that you're hearing from your state agencies, we would want you to sign up for that committee to offer that information. Obviously, reentry hits the block grant funding. We are a reentry organization, Mile High Behavioral Healthcare is. So what information can you bring to the subcommittee, which I would say you're probably going to be interested in treatment? And you would probably be interested in recovery because some of the folks could be coming out of therapeutic community and other treatment type correctional facilities. So recovery or treatment group would be helpful for hearing the needs of the State Department. So that way it helps us craft information. So you would be an information liaison to the subcommittees that you would join. And that's for all of our state partners out of all of the different agencies. So recovery liaison is typically in the recovery group. Our prevention liaison has typically been in the prevention group. We haven't really had a treatment liaison. It's usually been the director or us executive directors that are providers. And then the state agencies typically fall into those categories where they're seeing the most need. Does that help, Debbie?
I think so. And maybe this is a conversation to have offline. So our division is primarily a pass-through entity. So we get money from the feds. And this past year with the crime prevention package, have a number of new programs that we've been standing up that deal with prevention, intervention. We have our Office of Community Corrections that oversee the halfway houses across the state, but we're not providing a direct service. We're providing dollars to communities to implement those services, if that makes sense.
It does. So whatever you're hearing through your community providers, and you can collect information, like if you're doing preventative work, you can be on prevention. So basically it's taking a skill set and joining a subcommittee and offering that representation. So you're to bring what you know from community and your professional life into those subcommittees. So those subcommittees then can make recommendations forward to the BHA to make the full application back to the feds on why we should continue to receive our block grant funding and how we want to allocate it based on the percentages of need that we see.
Okay. And sorry for my multiple questions. The other concern I have
that was part of this. I said we were going to be talking, so this is great.
Okay, so I would love to be part of this committee. One concern I have is that our division's all-staff meeting is the same day of the first Thursday of the month at the same time. So maybe we could talk separately to see if I should. I'm the designee for Stan Hilke, the executive director. So I'm not quite sure who else or how we should manage that. So maybe we could talk about that separately.
I can tell you for the state agencies, they've often delegated it. So if you need to find a alternative, that's been normal process for us. If there's someone else that can pitch it for you,
Okay.
or that would be more appropriate, that would be a decision between you and the state on how to make that happen. But that's not been unusual for us.
Okay.
All that we ask as a council is that there is representation from those state agencies,
Okay.
and that they can contribute in a way to support us.
Okay, so the level essentially doesn't matter because Stan, our executive director, I'm like 2 levels down from him, but I could delegate it or have him delegate it to someone else.
It just has to be someone that would have access to the information and can make decisions, and who would be appropriate to be on a state commission.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We do have everybody but the 6 of us in breakout groups. We have 5 in treatment, 2 in prevention, and 9 in recovery. I don't know how much time you want to give them, or if you want me to broadcast a message to them to let them know when they're coming back. 6 in treatment.
I was just going to make a comment about membership. Membership has typically been a separate committee because we do a very specific job that does not contribute to the recommendations typically. And we've been in an ad hoc recruitment for a long time, so we've been meeting consistently, but typically we do not meet all year long. So in the past, individuals have been, if they're a membership committee member interested in doing that, They can also be part of another committee and be active in both.
Membership has been really a function of the executive team. So, and ad hoc. All right, so Donda, they are in some kind of, they're in their groups and they moved into their groups.
Yes.
All right. Breakout rooms. Now, and they all can still hear me, correct?
No.
No, they cannot. I can send them a broadcast message though, if you want me to.
All right.
And let them know how much time they have.
All right, so this is what I would like you to ask them to do now that they're all in their groups. I need them to vote on a chair and we're going to give them 5 minutes and they need to have that conversation and then I'm going to pull them all back out and they're going to announce who their chair is. Thank you.
No problem. Do you want your group to join any of them?
Lloyd, which group are you joining?
I'll be in recovery.
If you can stick Lloyd in recovery, but he's on our camera here.
I was going to say I have you all on one, so it would be the whole group up there.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
you mean for in the future? Yeah. That's
yeah,
not
in the future, Lloyd's going to go to recovery and she's going to go to recovery as well, Lorraine. And then you can stick Bobby D in treatment group, of course.
And then do you guys want to go to any of the groups right now?
Send us to, I've got more recovery in a room. Let's go to recovery. If you can send us to recovery.
All right.
I'd like to drop in each. How about that? So
Sure.
let's
When you
drop in.
are done with recovery, you can actually leave the meeting or you can message me to leave the meeting and I'll send it back to you. I'll bring you
All right,
back.
I'll probably message you.
Okay. Hopefully that'll work. Here you go to recovery.
Or just keep track of us and come get me. How about that?
I can't do that, unfortunately, that I know. I might be able to. Yeah, I should be able to. I'll give you 2 minutes in each room. How's that?
Perfect. That's all I want.
All right.
All right,
Sending you to
thanks.
recovery.
All right. I love this.
You have to join it though, it looks like.
I was getting there. I was telling everyone I loved it. Donda, are we all back? It automatically muted.
Yeah, we can come out with a breakout.
I think we have a couple more that are coming back still. I think we're still waiting for treatment to come back.
Okay, that was really, really cool stuff. That's great.
We are all back.
I have a total idea now. Okay, we're all back. All right, so that's some amazing technology. How did you guys like that? I mean, we got to stay hybrid and do it in person, so pretty cool stuff. All right, so I'm gonna call
So
out.
Bob,
Yes.
I do like that part of it, but if we could have a little bit of a tutorial maybe online or in an email to explain how that all happened and what we can do in it and what we can't, what the limitations are.
Yeah, Lorraine, that was the first time I went through it, and I was shocked and awed on this side, so they were all laughing at me. I keep on
Can't say
learning.
like it's the first time I've done it, so it was all guess and go.
Yeah, I was going to say Zoom has some pretty powerful technology. So Donda just made this happen for us today. So I guess, Lorraine, we're going to learn as we go because it's the first time we tried it. So, and it was successful, which makes me really, really happy for everybody. So yes, we will do training as we learn about the hiccups and the abilities of having breakout sessions and then bringing everyone back together. So that being said, could I call on the treatment chair to announce who they are and everyone that is in your subcommittee? Chair of treatment, who are you?
So I nominated myself and everybody agreed.
Welcome, Chair Gloria.
Yay,
Glory. Glory.
And so from what I was told, I'm not sure if Shannon is supposed to be part of our team. Marcella, so no, not Shannon.
If it's Shannon Miller, no, I've always been on recovery.
Okay. All right, so Marcella, Stephanie Johnson, Lara Dykes, Angie Wood, Lori Banks, and you, Bob.
Gracias.
A la orden.
Great. Next, I'd like to call out the chair of or chairs of prevention. Who's on prevention?
Well, this is Margie, and there were two of us in our group, and we got along so well that we are co-chairs. And so it's Bonnie Holiday and myself for our
And you have
prevention.
another.
And we look forward to other people joining us.
You have Yumiko joining you.
Oh, that's right, Yumiko. I'm sorry. That's right. Brain dead. So Yumiko is our newest member. She wasn't there as part of our discussion, so we will get her up to speed on what we talked about. But yes, so we were a group of three.
Okay, that's great.
Real quick, sorry. This is Bonnie. Also, Donda, that was amazing. And it was like magic. And also when I came back, I don't know if it's just me, but my chat is disabled and I'm like, I might have overused my chat. So maybe you took the privilege away from me, but I just wanted to point that out.
That's the same for me as well. So I don't know if others have that happen.
Yeah, we will learn as we go. So sometimes those things happen. So just hang in there and always report if there's something missing, but it was magic and it was great. So that was really cool. All right, next up is the recovery committee. Who is the chair and welcome?
Well, first, we didn't get very long with Lloyd and Lorraine, so I just wanted to hear from them. Otherwise, I am willing to step up as the chair of the recovery committee, but I'm welcome to having a co-chair, or if Lloyd or Lorraine want to be it, then by all means.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great for you to do that, James. If I was in the room, I would have nominated you.
I said that exact thing. I was like, I'm not going to speak for Lloyd or Lorraine, but I've gotten to know them, and Lloyd has his plate full with membership. And Lorraine actually nominated me to be the chair of BPAC, so I figured that that's what she would say.
I so respect you guys for including your fellow colleagues and waiting for them. So that was really cool. So James, you're the chair. Who's all on your committee then?
So it's Nat, myself, Candace, Lorraine Lloyd, Lorraine Gilroy, Angela Schuff. Who else am I? Megan Scott,
Shannon Miller.
Shannon Miller.
And first.
Yep.
All right. Well, this worked out beautifully. I was going to have you guys meet independently because I didn't know how successful the breakouts were going to go. So now I have something exciting to announce. Moving forward on our agenda, I am going to work in building out time now so you guys don't have to meet outside of the commission meeting. We now have the ability, while we are in the commission meeting, to break out into our assigned subcommittee groups, which is fantastic, time saving and organizing everyone. And then at the end of our subcommittee times, I'll pull us all back out of that group session and we can start doing some updates. So that being said, moving forward, we will structure the agenda where you now will have committee time. So now you're all established on your committees and we have chairs. The next process, what we're going to do is get the application that we turned in previously. We're going to walk through and look at those recommendations and what the state turned in. We're going to do a training on what that application looks like and what the state requirements are of turning in a document to SAMHSA based on the percentages and how they plan on choosing to spend prevention, treatment, intervention, recovery. So the state puts a grant together and turns that in, and we'll do a high-level review of what that looks like. And then I plan on getting us some data training to the best that we can so we can understand how to start making those recommendations moving forward. So training will be coming. You will get assignments then to go back into your subcommittees. But it's great today that we've got that established. So that being said, let's take both hands and put them together. Yay! We made progress. All right.
Bob, this is Margie. I just have a quick question. In times past, people were able to be part of subcommittees that were not council members. Is that still the case, or I'm thinking, and I think it's great to be able to do our committee meetings during this time, but if there is a set time of that, would that be, or can we? Bonnie,
so Margie,
Margie,
yeah, what I'm going to do is it'll be a set time on the agenda every time moving forward.
So we could invite people.
Yes. So this is a public council. The public is invited to the council. They're non-voting. They can be recognized during appropriate times, and they can join subcommittees as interested parties that have the ability to contribute. So if they're contributing and they're a guest, that's helpful by all means. But this is a public venue.
Great. Thank you very much for that clarification.
They're just non-voting.
And I apologize, the chat feature is still disabled. I need to leave for another Zoom, but I'm coming back for an hour.
Thank you, Anne.
Thanks. See you in an hour.
Okay. That being said, that's how we're going to be moving forward, and I applaud us all for getting a lot of work done. We have 8 people pending. We've got the application reviewed today. We got subcommittees and chairs done today. And I'm going to go ahead and issue a break from 10 o'clock, which is now, to 10:10. Please take care of yourselves. Go outside, take a deep breath, walk around the house, and I'll see you at 10:10. Recording can stop. Thank you. All right. I'm waiting to see you all pop back on. There you are, as all the cameras come back on. All these beautiful Coloradans. We get to go play in our first snow tonight. Get ready. All right, this is one of my favorite parts of the agenda. I love, love, love hearing from everybody on the task force. So this is what's going on in Colorado. So let me go ahead and start with prevention in families and adolescents. What's going on in that world? Update us. Anyone got anything to offer that's going on in the prevention, family, adolescent world?
Hello. Sorry, I was grabbing some yogurt, but I'm back just in time, I think.
Perfect. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi. I wanted to follow up on a request I heard maybe a few meetings ago, but it seemed like there'd been some interest around Healthy Kids Colorado data.
Yes, we would love a presentation.
Awesome, awesome. So I can definitely coordinate that because that team is in the same division as mine. And let's see, what month would work for the group?
Well, interestingly enough, we would like it for December 1st.
Okay. Let me see if I can coordinate with that person, and I will get back. Actually, I will probably send an email right after this, and I will get back with the group on their response. So
great. Any type of prevention data that you would like to share? You know, CDPHEs, the BHA, that would be great. So what we're going to be doing in the December meeting, as I said, is we're going to start with the review of the previous application. But data is really important, and I want to make sure in 2023 we're a data-driven task force. We haven't done a lot of data-driven work in the past, and my goal for 2023 for all of us is to really take a look at more of the data post-pandemic and make those decisions when it comes to treatment, prevention, recovery, and intervention on how we're working with the block grant, and then we can stage and make those percentages come together. So whatever you feel comfortable that you're able to bring, Bonnie, prevention's always been weak with us, and I think it's the most important when it comes to families and children. So whatever you can bring, we would welcome.
excellent, excellent. I'll see what I can coordinate, and yeah, I love that value of data-driven work. And just for folks that might be new or might have forgotten, with the substance abuse block grant, there's a 20% mandatory set aside for primary prevention. And so my team at CDPHE, that's where we come into play, and we manage those funds, but happy to go into that more during future presentations.
Yes, absolutely. And just always know, I will welcome any type of public health information, as behavioral health is public health. So if you're seeing trends and issues, I would love for that data to be presented to us. So don't be shy when it comes to that stuff. And we also don't get a lot of information on adolescents. So I think Healthy Kids Colorado is really exciting, but if you have other information to share, that would be great.
And it's okay. I wanted to address Lara's really great question. So does the prevention set aside include suicide prevention? And so I would say yes, through shared risk and protective factors. And so in the prevention world in Colorado, and then especially at CDPHE, we operate from basically a paradigm that a lot of our issues can be addressed through looking at shared risk and protective factors. So through data, especially Healthy Kids Colorado, we found that one of the strongest protective factors for youth in Colorado is trusted adults. And so, promoting that as a protective factor not only, works towards preventing substance misuse, it also works towards suicide prevention as well. So that might have been kind of like a roundabout answer, but did that at least answer your question a bit?
Sort of. I guess I'm wondering about the specific funding for things like the Office of Suicide Prevention. Is that then that is separate because that is not the kind of prevention that you are talking about?
The Office of Suicide Prevention is separate from us, but if we were in a building, I think they'd be right across the hall. A great question.
Do we have anything else going on with Colorado's families and kids that we would like to offer an update? I have one update when it comes to families. Anyone living in the metro area close to Mile High Behavioral Health Care here in Gloveville or in North Aurora off of Kingston Street in Colfax, we will be offering to families full Thanksgiving food baskets. So we're doing 50 per site. So if you're interested in supporting a family that's in my behavioral health catchment area, and it is a family in need, please let me know. We have 50 food baskets for Thanksgiving out of both of our locations. So you just need to email me and I'll try to get you connected the best I can. Email me early if you know that you have a need. So, but we're happy to get a Thanksgiving basket out to somebody in our behavioral health community. All right, is there anything else prevention or adolescent wise? Okay. Let's go ahead and go to treatment and hear what's going on in the treatment community. Any updates out of treatment? Okay, let's move to recovery. Are there updates in recovery community?
I have a couple things that I would like to share. First of all, we are having our annual individual placement and support IPS conference next week. I have it already. So the registration is in the chat if anybody wants to come. If you have any questions or want to talk to me about it before you register, go ahead and shoot me an email. It's going to be cool. It's about celebrating recovery and helping people in recovery get jobs. So there's that. And then also we're working on a directory for recovery community organizations. I know a lot of you know about this. James even helped us with the survey. Thank you for that. I have the survey out. I'm keeping it open like indefinitely. But if you are involved with an RCO or know of RCOs, shoot me an email. I'll send you the link. I'm putting my email in the chat. Our ideas, what we're going to do with this is we're going to do a web page for RCOs on the BHA website. I'm not promising that this is going to happen anytime soon because websites take a very long time and getting clearance through our communications department and all that will take a long time, but we are working on it and it's very, very, very exciting. So please send me if you don't know of, I know AFR, they already filled out the survey. I sent it to somebody. I don't think Anne's not back. Okay, never mind. Okay, so that's it. Thanks.
I just have a quick question. We haven't had an IPS training or what is IPS, and I have a little bit of time. Do you have 2 minutes to explain what IPS is to the task force?
Absolutely. IPS is an evidence-based model. It's been researched since 1999 on helping people with severe and persistent mental illness get jobs. So it's 31% organization has to be involved in this, meaning no inclusion, no exclusion. We're not excluding anybody. Everybody from the CEO to the employment specialists know about it. It's all of the employment specialists are integrated with teams. And then we have 51% is services, meaning getting clients in front of employers, doing their, we work with the career profile and helping the individuals get their jobs. And then staffing. An employment team consists of 2 employment specialists and a supervisor. Supervisors don't supervise more than 10 people. They're out in the community. They're 65% of the time the requirement is to be out in the community, meaning out talking to employers and out with individuals who are looking for jobs, because it helps them get acclimated to be back out into the community. So that's just a real short explanation of it. Does anybody have any? We have other experts on here. Nat is an expert and Darby is an expert. So if I missed anything, please chime in.
I was going to say the only thing that I'd add is that yearly we conduct fidelity reviews to review each and every IPS site to ensure that they're meeting the fidelity of all those, how Aaliyah had listed those 30%, 50%. We review all those different things through a fidelity scale to ensure that they're meeting all the aspects of providing IPS services.
Yeah, and there's 25 items on the fidelity scale, so it's no joke. The fidelity rates are no joke.
So my question is this something that the block grant can pay for?
I think the block grant is what pays for it. Community mental health centers do it. It's best done in community mental health centers. Shannon's an expert too. And now we have it in 5 treatment centers. I saw that.
Okay. Well,
since I've been on the council, IPS has been part of the block grant requests.
Great. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's where I thought it was being funded from. Great. I would love maybe this winter you guys can do a nice full presentation. Sure. I think it is absolutely amazing program. I certainly would love to see it get involved more into the SUDS treatment world and the recovery world. So I think it's absolutely incredible. Employment is so important. It's part of healthcare. So that's great. Thank you so much.
And so speaking of that, I have gotten a promotion, so I'm the recovery services manager now and will not be doing IPS any longer. That job posted today, which, wow, it posted today. So I will not be doing IPS anymore, but I am more than happy to do a presentation on it this summer, and might have somebody that's a new person that's doing IPS at the BHA at that point. So they'll do it with me or they'll do it themselves, but I'll stay on this committee. My position is staying on this committee.
Well, congratulations on your promotion. And I'm sure you're going to do a bang up job as manager.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Anything
I'm
else?
sorry I took up a lot of time. I know we have a lot going on in recovery.
Yeah, what else is going on in recovery? We got another update?
I have something if no one else there does.
We have something in the room. Let me spin the camera over. There we are.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I announced this last month, but I want to reiterate it because it's coming up on December 18th, Sunday, December 18th at 7 or 8 p.m. I'm not sure what the time change is from Eastern time, but This Is Life with Lisa Ling. It's a CNN series. She came to Denver and filmed the whole series about what's happening with alcohol in the Denver, Colorado community. And it's going to be an hour-long show. It highlights life-ring secular recovery and a lot of other things that have happened in the Denver community with the rise in alcoholism due to the pandemic. So mark your calendar.
Lisa Ling is one of my favorites.
She's awesome. She's
Yeah.
great in person too. I got to meet her.
Do you have a flyer or something you can
I
issue
will
to
post it
Donda?
out to this, it was
Great.
just, it's listed on her schedule. And so I'm gonna copy that and send it out to this group and to lots of other people. We're hoping to do a watch party over at the Secular Hub, if any of you are familiar
Wow.
with that. That's where our meeting was filmed. So, yeah, I'll talk about this again next month, so you don't forget.
Great, that's really amazing. What else do we got going on in recovery?
I'll go ahead and jump in. We have a lot, so I won't go over all of it, but I'll make sure that I email out everything. Here in the metro area, we are starting this Saturday, what we've kind of dubbed as SNARF, which is Saturday Night AFRC Fun. So it's going to be a reoccurring Saturday thing at our AFR location. That's going to be really around community fun, games, karaoke, movie nights. It's going to kind of change throughout it, but it's going to be a standing thing on Saturday nights at our main facility off of 69th and Federal Boulevard. We're also starting a photography group, more around cell phones. We have an amazing staff member that's also a professional photographer that's going to start to take people through how to use their phones to capture the moments that they're living in recovery with. And that will be once a month, but the first one is this Saturday. And then obviously Thanksgiving's at the end of the month. The AFR, the metro area, will be doing our annual Thanksgiving Day hangout, if you will. I'll be there from 10 a.m. until 8 a.m. We'll provide the main dishes and we'll send out that. For our Sterling location, they're doing like a day after leftover Thanksgiving party. And I'll send out that flyer as well to everybody. And I know that our Western Slopes have some events, but I will let Candace, who is in that region, kind of talk about those.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Yeah, we're getting folks together for Thanksgiving. Also, the Sunday before, we're having a Friendsgiving. We've actually partnered with a bunch of community partners, young people in recovery included, in the weeds, some others that y'all might not know, but collaborating to have a really robust community Friendsgiving down here in Durango. And we actually, we just hired a new coach to serve the Delta and Montrose area, and she's going to be doing something similar in Delta, where we're really trying to really develop that community, because that's one of our newest locations as well. So those are kind of our big, like, upcoming November events, and we'll have some other cool stuff coming up for the holidays that we can send out as we kind of fine tune those in the next couple of weeks. I think that's mostly it.
All right, anyone else have an update for us in the recovery community?
This is Shannon. I will just say that we are taking applications for part 1 of our CCAR recovery coach training down south in Pueblo. And we are working with the consortium. And I know there's some people on here that are on that summit team as well, but they will be hosting the Southeast Peer Summit mid-January. So that will be exciting for people. It's geared toward people who are interested in becoming a peer. And if that already got mentioned, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Any other updates? All right, I'm going to close this section of the agenda. We are ahead of schedule, so you guys are going to get about 30 or so minutes back in your day. We are at the point now where we're going to get the BHA legislative updates and updates from the BHA. So I'm going to turn it over to Yumiko.
Great, thank you. And a few of my colleagues are going to jump on here in a minute. But first, while we wait for them to join, just a few general updates. There's a lot happening. Donda, I don't know if you can help me put in links in the chat, or we can just send these things out at another time. Bob, what are you doing? I don't need a close-up. There's two kind of big reports that the BHA released relatively recently. One, annually, we are required at the BHA to provide a report to the General Assembly of Colorado, which essentially is a big report of how we are meeting all of our statutory requirements at the BHA. So it's a really good, I think, thorough overview of the things we've been up to and what our priorities are in the coming years. So we can get that report out to everybody. The second one is the BHA released a strategic plan around workforce development. I think we all know that that is a huge issue, not only in the behavioral health field, but everywhere these days. And so that strategic plan lists out some of our priority areas and where we're hoping to invest stimulus funding and things like that. So those are two reports we can share with you. There's also a lot of funding opportunities coming out very soon. And we can also share with you, because the BHA is going to do a series of webinars and get more information out on all the various funding opportunities. Some examples, House Bill 22-1281 passed last session that includes 3 different grant programs. One is a continuum gap grant program, and this is about, I think it's $40 million that will go out to communities as they identify needs and gaps in their own behavioral health services at the local level. So that's one big grant program. We have a second one that's specific to children, youth, and families. Again, looking at gaps and needs in terms of services at the local level for children, youth, and families. That's another, I know I'm confusing them. One's 35 million, one's 40 million. There's also Senate Bill 22-196, which is really focused on people involved in the criminal justice system and their behavioral health needs and various diversion efforts. That's another 50 million. So there is a lot of funding, stimulus funding on the table that is available to communities, providers, a whole host of eligible entities. So there will be much more information coming out in the coming weeks about all the requirements of these various grant programs, who's eligible, how to apply, et cetera. So that's exciting. And then third, and this is something I can keep updating the group on, there's just going to be a whole number of stakeholder engagement opportunities as the BHA continues to move forward on things such as, I think it was last meeting, was it, that we got an overview on some of the regulatory restructuring and rewriting that we are doing at the BHA. There's some pretty big policy changes coming down the pike, and we need to get lots of input from various stakeholders. So some of that we will be bringing directly to you through Bhpac to get your input, but there's also a host of other opportunities, you know, through your role as a provider or a community member to also provide feedback to us on a number of things. So lots to come. And then for the next section, and I'm trying to see, I see Maureen has joined us. And then I'm looking, and we're going to have 2 others join, but I can just tee it up. We have launched at the BHA a website, a public-facing website called OwnPath. And so as that, we're going to do a little bit of a demo of it for you today, and then also ask for some input in terms of how to prioritize outreach and folding in other populations moving forward. So once my colleagues join, they're going to walk you through what OwnPath looks like. It's really meant to be for public consumption, for public use. And so we want to make sure that it's very user-friendly and meeting the needs of all of you. So we'll do a quick overview and then are going to be asking for some input from this group too on how to continue to refine and add to that product. So, and Maureen, oh, there we go. Okay, so Alex Murphy is joining us. Maureen, do you want to introduce yourself real quick to this group?
Yeah. Hi all, my name is Maureen Maycheko. My pronouns are she, they, Aya. I'm the communications director with the BHA. I work a lot with the amazing OwnPath team that you'll be talking with today, Karen and Alex. And I'm just here to make sure that all of the feedback and thoughts and discussion that are shared today are collected and gathered and become more of a guide for our communications work. And so we don't have to be having these conversations over and over again with every product and service that we that the BHA launches.
Wonderful. Thanks, Maureen. And so Maureen is, for those of you who have played around with our BHA website and engaged with some of our other products, she is such a champion for not only making things look good, but for making them accessible and inclusive, and making sure all of our BHA information and products are really getting to the people who need them the most. So Karen and Alex, you're just in time. We are ready to turn things over to you. So if you want to just introduce yourselves quickly and then jump right in. And I think we said we were going to start with a quick demo of OwnPath and then yeah, get some input from this group.
Alex, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Murphy. I use she, her pronouns, and I am working with the BHA to help support the rollout of our technology products, and OwnPath is one of them. We're excited to share it with you today and also follow up with some questions and gain some valuable insights from you. So thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, everyone. It's so lovely to see all of you. Thank you so much for your time today, making space for us in your meeting. And thanks to you, Miko, again, for the opportunity. My name is Karen Liu, she, her, hers, and I am currently serving as the product manager for OwnPath. So I we'll start a really short demo in a moment because it is a live site, and excited to show it to you for those who aren't already familiar with it. It is a public-facing and searchable directory with intended audience to be all people of Colorado. But quickly, I started in this role shortly after the sort of MVP beta version of the site was launched at the end of July. So the site was launched end of July, and I started in September. And behavioral health care and access to care is an area that is incredibly personal to me and to my family. So this work means a lot to me, and I'm really honored to be in a role where I can help make sure that this tool continually evolves and gets better and better. So we are really committed to a human-centered approach. So it's very important that we have very regular input from people with lived experience and from experts. So really the reason we're here today is to get some feedback from you to help with the user experience on OwnPath. So that's sort of the context to which we're coming to you from. Do I have the ability to share my screen, Yumiko?
You should.
Okay, let's see. All right. Are folks able to see my screen? Okay, wonderful. This is the front page.
Oh. Hey, Karen, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I think when you were explaining when you joined the team, you said MVP. And so I just wanted to clarify for this group. Can you just talk a little bit about what that means?
Yes, MVP stands for minimum viable product. And so in the way in which we're developing this product, which is continuous improvement, essentially forever in response to needs and to user research, there is a state in which a minimum set of features are ready and deemed ready to put out into the world because there is value already being provided. So some folks call that a beta version of a website. MVP again stands for minimum viable product. And so this is live in the world with a valuable but pretty minimal set of functions and features at this moment. For example, not all providers in Colorado are listed for quality purposes. Currently, all of the providers listed are those who are licensed through the BHA. And so on our roadmap, our plans to make sure many, many more providers providing behavioral health services are represented on the site. But the way, again, our team is working is really iterative and focused on talking with people with lived experiences, making sure everything's in plain language, making sure we're adding in features that will make the tool more valuable and continually improving it. We're pushing out new updates every few days at this point. And thank you for that nudge, Maureen. So this is the version of the site that is out in the world currently. It is available fully in both English and Spanish, and we want to make sure to add support for additional languages as well in the future. It's a pretty simple prompt in terms of how you navigate at the moment. You can either enter a zip code or you can go through a guided search to get to search results. And I'll just scroll down real quick. There are a couple of additional resources listed. It's important to note that we are really committed to not storing any PHI. So, excuse me. So the site is not tracking like your computer's IP address or anything like that. There's nothing personally identifiable that's tracked. For that reason, we don't know the exact number of unique users who have accessed the site. But to date, from late July to now, we've had roughly a little bit over 60,000 sessions, so visits. Not unique users, but 60,000 visits to the site. So I'll enter my old zip code in Broomfield as an example. And so when you search by zip code, you get a list of providers, the current ones that are licensed through the BHA, and it's displayed both as a list view and on a map. There are additional ways to sort the information and filter to additional granularity, language accessibility options. You can change the search radius and age range as well. So for each of these, you're able to click, for each provider, you're able to click into a more detailed page, which would tell you some additional information about populations served, the specific services that they provide. There's also a link to report a concern or a complaint. Let's see. What else would be, we can show the guided search really quickly. This will need to be greatly improved over time to really help make sure we're returning results that are as applicable and meaningful as possible. So currently you can start by saying I'm searching for myself or for someone I care about, specify, an age range, going through the questions on language, zip code again, and your search radius. Hopefully no one ever has to go 25 or 50 or 100 miles for care. And then you'll get more specific search results that are already pre-filtered by the filters that you've selected. Alex and Maureen and Yumiko, does that feel pretty good for the demo portion before we move on?
My question is, how did you get the data about each treatment center and what they do? Where did those descriptions come from that are in this website?
Yes, so currently all of the providers represented here come from the BHA's licensing platform called Ladders. So it's associated with the license. It's pulling from that directory.
So then in Ladders, but I noticed when you click the link, it showed all the services they provide. Is that something providers turn in, or is that also information you got out of, like, just click one of the providers?
Mm-hmm.
Did you pull that out of Ladders as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Everything currently is being pulled out of Ladders. That is available. And we are actually adding a few more fields to Ladders shortly. For example, are you currently accepting new patients? That's a really key factor when folks are looking for care. Do you offer telehealth, for example? These are things that are not currently required in Ladders for licensure, but we do think that information is incredibly helpful to the people of Colorado. So we'll be adding and improving as well. Laura?
Can you take, I have some follow-up questions specifically related to Ladders if we're.
I can try, yes. I'm not a Ladders expert, but yes, what's your question?
Well, it's no insult to any of you, and I understand why you started this way, but Ladders is awful. It's really not a great product for people that use it. We use it to have to list certain of our sites. So by connecting OwnPath to Ladders, the only listings you have for care in the state of Colorado are things that are licensed. There are many entities that do not have state licenses, FQHCs, mom and pop shops, private treatment providers. So you have, the listing is not accurate of what is available in the local community, number one. Number two, just Ladders is horrible. I don't know if you've heard that feedback, but it's awful. And so the information is very hard to update. It's likely inaccurate. We've had a very specific inaccuracy there for years that we cannot seem to fix. And so for ourselves, we are an FQHC. And so we have 2 licensed SUD sites, and those are listed. The 20 other places that we have are not listed because they are not in Ladders because we are federally licensed. And asking us to put those in Ladders is extra administrative burden for the provider to list those when they have no reason to be in Ladders in the first place. So I would really love it if the BHA was looking at some alternative avenue other than Ladders, because that to me is not going to be a successful process and is going to hurt the end user, and that they are not going to see their local resources, especially your prevention, recovery, those sorts of things. They're not going to be anywhere in that system. So you've got mental health centers, and that's kind of it.
Yes, I so appreciate hearing that, Laura. That is feedback that I heard before. The site was launched prior to my coming on, but my understanding is in order to get a set of relatively reliable and up-to-date data onto the site, whereas, many other sources everybody keeps their data differently, right? In order to normalize it and all of that for the site. It was determined that we would first launch with the 800 or so who are licensed in Ladders, just to get some information up there. The intent is absolutely not to continue expanding Ladders and have that be the home for all of this information. Absolutely, we need data that is not in Ladders. We need providers who are not licensed. And we need a way for everybody to be able to go in and keep their information up to date. Totally recognize that the system in which you apply for licensure isn't what you might expect to keep up to date for a public facing tool. So it is an interim solution for now, and very much prioritized on the roadmap is expanding that out and looking into what might be a better tool for providers to add themselves, update their info, all of that.
I appreciate you guys had to start somewhere, of course.
Mhm.
And so that's understandable. On the other hand, but to kind of set it out there as a place where one can go to find services when things like a local harm reduction action center is not listed, makes it unusable by clients and by staff who are looking for their local place to go, which is not a licensed facility. So just our 2 cents. And I know you've heard it multiple times from my staff that is kind of on one of those teams, but I just thought I would follow up here, and that we have hundreds of case managers that are unable to use the system to find services for their clients because it does not list your homegrown local places.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, Laura. That's very much top of mind. And anything, you know, as wide and imperative as that, down to like, I found a bug in the site, or something is wrong, or I think this feature would be really nice, please always feel free to use the feedback form link. Alex and I personally look at literally every single piece of feedback that comes in, and we'll respond as much as appropriate and possible. So please do know that we are carefully looking at every piece of feedback that's coming in.
Okay, great. Thank you. And one more.
Yes,
And
of course.
sorry, one more thing. The search perspective, is it look only via zip code? If it could be done by like ADA accommodation or other, you know, specific needs like that, that might be something that you all could look into. ADA especially might be great.
Yes, great idea. Right now, that's one of the filters, and the primary way to get into it is zip code, but I totally recognize that's not necessarily, it shouldn't be like the only gate through, right? I think looking for telehealth providers, or, you know, those who are accepting new patients, you know, are other alternative ways too. So yeah, absolutely. This was the minimum, you know, feature that we rolled out with, but that's intended to grow for sure.
Miss Karen.
Yes, Maureen, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. Would you insert my zip code into the own path? Because I live in a rural area, and you said hopefully it's not more than 20 miles away. And I just want to see how it looks, and if there is anything within 50 miles.
Absolutely. Here, let me start sharing again. And you are getting a little ahead of me, Laureen, because one of the main goals is to make sure there are no searches returning 0 results.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we know that currently there are searches returning 0 results, and that's not that's not acceptable at all in terms of access to care. So that's, you know, looking at making sure everything returns a result, and kind of distribution from, you know, urban to rural to frontier is really important. What's your zip code?
80654.
And Karen, this is Yumiko. I just wanted to jump in and say, as you know, as Karen said a few times, this is the minimal viable product, right? The first kind of rollout of OwnPath. And Karen and Alex actually had some specific questions in terms of next steps that we can take to continue to refine and build out the site. So I think after we take a look at this, I'd love to turn it back over to them to kind of help guide us through what questions they would like some feedback on, so that they can continue to build out this site.
Thank you, Yumiko. Yeah, and you know, as the product manager, I'm so hungry for this feedback. So this is fantastic as well. So for results within a distance of 25 miles. So right now the distance is calculating dynamically based on the zip code to ideally show you some results if at all possible. But 25 miles is still quite a big range.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I think that it might be interesting to find out how the distance is measured also. I think some government agencies measure from post office to post office. And the 16 miles seems like the outer boundary on the west side. And then because it takes me about half an hour to get from where this post office is to that Fort Morgan place. So that would be interesting to find out how that's assessed. I also was wondering.
I can answer that real quick.
Yeah.
So because we're committed to not tracking any users, we don't have location identification turned on or IP addresses. And so this is actually calculating from the center of the zip code. And so, yeah, it's actually, it'll be pretty off depending on where you actually reside within the zip code. And I think this is an area that could benefit from some additional explanation where, you know, the trade-off for us not tracking you and identifying your general location is that we're having to approximate.
Yeah, that sounds good. I have one more question real quick, if we have time. Yes, we do, Laura. Okay. Can we use this information in like a grant application if we were to say we need money to expand the number of prevention centers in our area, and this is how many there are? Can we use, I mean, is this data sufficient for that kind of use?
I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that. Alex or Maureen or other BHA folks, might you have a perspective there?
I'll jump in real quick. I appreciate the question and also want to recognize and appreciate the others that have come through the chat. But I think for that, Laureen, since we have committed to improving this site, but recognize that right now it is an incomplete database, frankly, I wouldn't suggest using this as hard and fast true data of the only sites that exist in your area, because frankly, we know that it's not. It may be that we add additional data sets in another month or another couple months, but we know right now that it is incomplete. So I would not suggest using OwnPath, and we can certainly talk offline if there's other resources that you'd be interested in. But if I could, just recognizing the questions that were in the chat for folks who were interested in being added to the site, that is a feature that we want to add. So thank you so much for raising that to the top. We will absolutely take that feedback and know that that is something folks want to see sooner rather than later. As of right now, however, we do not have a way for you to add yourself to the site, but thank you for letting us know. As soon as you saw this, you were like, I want to be on here. How can I do that? So yes, we will work on that. Yumiko was so kind to remind us that we do have some specific questions for you. So Karen, do you want to kind of switch back to, we can go to our slide deck, or if you want, I'm happy to share too, but we wanted to ask folks how we should focus those next round of improvements. You all have given us some great ideas already, but we'd love to chat a little bit more on that.
Yes, and we have a deck. Thanks for that, Alex. Before I move away from this tab, just wanted to show you where the submit a suggestion link is in the footer. This is on every page, and I actually get a ping every time someone submits, and I think some of you are submitting right now, so thank you. We will be in touch. All right, I need to share a different tab, so one moment while I get that going. All right, let's see. If you have a specific question and exercise for you all. So just want to share a super quick snapshot of our North Star and how we know, how to make decisions broadly as a platform and as a service in terms of prioritizing the work that gets done. So we started with the BHA's purpose, vision, mission, and values. And the way OwnPath was envisioned via the General Assembly report that, it's the front door for all people in Colorado, public facing, web-based. It is optimized for mobile. We know based on current data that 80% of those 60,000 plus sessions are on mobile. So we want to make sure that it works seamlessly no matter what kind of device you might be using. And in terms of the care, navigation, and coordination, like it is part of a much larger portfolio within the BHA to make sure we can eventually get to making an appointment or referrals and just plugging into a much larger system that is in the works as well. But access, accessibility, trust, all of that is really, really important. Plain language, right? There's a lot of work that Maureen is graciously helping us out with, where even the latter's data may not make sense to the people of Colorado. So we're trying to transform it or explain it in a way where it could make sense. So from there, the BHA conducted a 5 or 6 month long user design work group. And out of that, they made many fantastic recommendations, but part of that included some core principles and design principles as well. So that was all part of the journey. And from that, we established some goals for OwnPath as a platform. So serving all people of Colorado by centering priority populations. That really just means removing as many barriers as possible and activating the curb cut effect. Optimizing the likelihood that people seeking help find exactly what they need the first time. So that to us means when we make decisions, we are going to go for quality and validation over quantity. And that's one of the reasons we didn't try to dump as much info in there as possible, because we very much don't want to break the trust with the public. And then finally, the ecosystem is recognizing that OwnPath is one tool in a much broader toolkit that is envisioned by the BHA. And so we really want to bust silos and design and build in a way that is integrating into other tools that are being developed and not just kind of in a vacuum. So in the spirit of centering priority populations, this is how priority populations are defined. We're orienting to the legislation that established the BHA, and this is how they're defined in the House Bill 22-1278. So while these are all, and I'm going to leave the slide up while we're doing the exercise. What we're coming to you all with is, knowing that these are all underserved populations and critically important. At the same time, we cannot develop features for all groups at the same time. So what we're looking for is your guidance around where might we start. And that just means, focusing our areas of user research, our focus groups are user research and usability testing, and then iterating on design, and then again, getting feedback from real users. And, as an example, if we were to start designing for, say, people of color, we have a lot of data and research on what those barriers are. And so as an example, that would mean starting to really think about what does culturally competent care look like, and how could that show up in a meaningful way on the platform, right? Versus focusing on other groups may mean, maybe you're accessing the site from a public library, and maybe something as small as print these results could be really meaningful. So all of these take, design and development hours and effort. And while, our first goal is centering priority populations, so we will do all of this. But in the immediate future, we'd love to know and get some guidance from you all on where we could start. Alex, would you walk through what we'd like folks to do in the exercise?
Yes, so with all that Karen has framed and appreciating that this site is committed to continuous improvement, we'd love for you in your capacity as individuals, professionals, people, friends, caregivers, all of the identities that you are, to help us better understand which of these populations you'd suggest we start with for those continued improvements. And if while you're thinking, you'd like to think out loud, please do feel free to come off mute and share with the group. But what we were looking for is for you to take one of these letters that sits in front of the population and type it into the chat. And that will help us to know that that is your, I hate to call it a vote, is it a tally, your marker for where you would like us to begin. So feel free to take some time and read through each of these letters and then drop a letter in the chat.
Alex, this is Margie Grimsley, and this might seem a bizarre question, but yesterday I was part of a group that was just starting its new grant process, and it was for, it's called Family Connects, and it's working with young women that are pregnant and trying to help provide services. I just keep thinking when we design something like this, it's really important to remember that counties are receiving federal and state and local grants, dollars, working with some of these populations. So it seems like as those grants roll out, how can you also be able to collect some of this data so that, let's say that grant is happening right now and they're just starting it and they're working with young women and adolescents that are pregnant. Jay might not come up on the list, your list, but people are out there actually working with that population. So how can you ensure whatever is being done now, you can collect that ongoing and not just wait until it's their turn to collect data?
Clarifying question on the income threshold. Is that the same as the federally defined poverty level, or is it state defined or BHA defined for number A?
I need to rely on a BHA colleague to answer this, please.
Just the federal poverty level is notoriously set like such a low bar. The state is usually a little bit higher. So I'd hope that the BHA would go with like kind of the higher level, especially considering cost of living in metro areas these days.
Yeah, it's as defined by the House bill, and I believe that's state, but let us double check that and we'll connect with Yumiko to share a actually correct answer for that.
And thanks to everyone who is dropping some of their feedback into the chat as well. Feel free to go to voice on any of these as you're doing that.
Do any of you have a preference? We can put it in the chat for you.
I think C is underlooked or overlooked rather.
Anyone else? So when you guys asked this question about where to get started, I guess because we are behavioral health and we are behavioral health in nature, obviously B would be the work that BHAC and Bhpac is chartered to do. Section A, there are commissions that deal with A, and that's our federally qualified health clinics, that's our RAIS. We have DOLA that, so these are broken out in so many different ways. But since you guys are BHA employees and this is a BHA initiative, it just seems like you would, in my opinion, you would just start with B. Just saying.
I would just chime in that I think A and B also capture a lot of the other letters. If you're doing a Venn diagram, I think probably everybody who's in C through L would fall into A and B as well.
I second that.
Completely agree as well.
I'm appreciating the multiple votes too. Thank you. Just taking some notes over here, and also appreciating the comments. So thank you.
Yeah, I guess it's just in continuing my own thought or train of thought, I feel like the, C through L are social determinants, whereas A and B are much more upstream that could help prevent some of those social determinants from becoming barriers in the first place.
Debbie?
Excuse me. So this might be a stupid question. And if I missed it, I apologize. But if you're trying to narrow down and really look at priorities, choosing A and B, I completely agree that that would encompass all of these, but does that help at all?
No stupid questions. From a product strategy perspective, I think that's an excellent question. We really wanted to orient to the legislation. So this is pulled verbatim out of the House bill. And I think some of us on the product team had been struggling with that as well in terms of, upstream versus the social determinants. And is working on A and B, essentially trying to do everything all at the same time. I don't know if I have a good answer to that right now. That's partly why we wanted to come to this group to better understand where we might start prioritizing. But, as an example, if we were to start with bucket A, we might start a round of user research focused on folks who squarely fall into this bucket, knowing that there are other intersectionalities happening. But with that as the primary kind of qualification for being recruited to a round of user research and start there, as opposed to centering, are you a person of color or a veteran?
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you.
I have the opportunity to work on several other commissions, and I actually have 2 disabled children. So number L means the world to me. And what I can tell you as a person in Colorado living with disabled children, finding resources for the disabled in Colorado is, and I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy, is almost next to impossible and very hard to do. So if you're in the know, you know how to do it, but if you're not in the know, you can forget it. So I can't imagine as this dust settles and we have much more of a conversation, I think people living with disabilities in Colorado are often overlooked. Now, I'm going to speak up for someone that just left us today. If Ty was here, Ty would be all over L. Because this is a very significant problem here in Colorado, is how we address the IDD population, the autism, our veterans. So many people come back with a disability or have a disability. And then how do they access care? It's a very difficult thing here in Colorado. So my feelings have totally changed. I was thinking, we're behavioral health. So my recommendation would have been B, but then when I really think about that's me coming as a professional, if I think as a psychologist and my children and my family and my community, I would go with L first because people living with disabilities need us the most. And I think that's always where we should always start.
That I'm really moved by that. And yeah, absolutely appreciate that. You know, as a small step, you know, we are making improvements all the time based on research and feedback. And just because, you know, we get some additional clarity from you all and where to focus doesn't mean that we're completely ignoring all of the other groups. So as a really small step, the site is was designed to be compliant with the latest federal accessibility guidelines. We also, a couple of weeks ago, had the opportunity to see in real time an individual who, with a vision impairment, navigates own path using the JAWS screen reader. And that was, while it performed quite well, still a very humbling experience. And we've already made a number of accessibility improvements to make sure that it is working much more smoothly for folks using JAWS screen readers. So absolutely, we're making these adjustments over time, but I think when we have the opportunity to really do a round of focused user research and design around L, there's so much more that we can do.
Right, and my last thing was, the reason why I was on it for 10 times is I'm trying to teach my adult autistic children how to provide themselves with resources, and I'm on other committees throughout the state. One of the things that I noticed is the site doesn't verbally talk back to you. One, if you're sight impaired or if you're an auditory learner. So there was not, and for autism, they need to hear it because they often, because it's a sensory integration thing. So, I mean, the auditory, you know, piece to it, needing to communicate with you like our cars do now, our phones do. So when you're trying to access behavioral health care and recommendations off our site, which I realize you have a lot of work to do, your list is long, but I guess just the fairness of L and how we're not, L kind of always gets put off in Colorado. And they are the most vulnerable. So, and you know, I'm just fairly passionate against, you know, for Coloradans living with a disability. It's a hard state to live in, and we should make it easier. Just the vastness of our state, and they have to go so far, and we have such transportation issues with them. That, you know, this site, you know, really needs to be interactive for people that live in mountain, frontier, and rural communities, which means it needs to be auditory, sight impaired, which you probably all know. So, but I at least wanted to bring it up why I was spending time on the site with my son. But we have more people in our clinics that are disabled now than we ever had since we've passed Medicaid expansion. And now that Medicaid has been expanded and people living with disabilities have joined into our clinics in behavioral health, are seeing more people disabled, which is great. But that means, you know, my systems aren't built out, these systems aren't built out. So I'm just going to throw it out there one more time. I'm a hell of a fan for L.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. You know, sadly, in all of my work building digital products and services, both in the public and private sector, L tends to always fall to the bottom of the roadmap and the bottom of the list. And I think doing what we do here, that ought to be reversed. I am not sure how many other folks are advocating for L in the chat, but you know, when we design with the curb cut effect in mind, the curb cut effect literally comes from this bucket, right? And it benefits everybody. Rural as a priority population.
Lastly, what happens when L comes last and you're building it out, we run out of budget and time, what I've noticed in Colorado. And L goes without resources. There's many websites we can go to right now at the state level, and they are not ADA friendly. So when we put L towards the bottom, and I appreciate you telling us that because I know that that happens, we run out of budget and time, and we say, well, we'll get to it, we'll get it built out. You can go to many websites now and it's just not there. So I'm done. I did my little piece, but I appreciate you saying that in your work experience, it's been last. And as a parent, it's been last. I can tell you that.
Thank you so much. Debbie?
So I don't know if I'm going to get us off track and if this is a question more in terms of the scope of this bill, but while I work in criminal justice now, I was the director of a health and human service organization. So I'm very passionate about, excuse me, but I also am curious, where would the topic of kind of workforce, so providers who don't take insurance, and so for the population that could pay for, or I guess I'm struggling this morning. I just got over COVID, so let me blame it on COVID brain, but I doubt that's what it is. So the folks who aren't Medicaid eligible, there are insured, but there aren't providers who take the insurance. And then it becomes, I don't know if this is the right word, but in my opinion, somewhat of an elitist system, because only those who can afford. So I have 2 autistic kids as well. And so it's been very hard to find them specific providers, let alone any that took insurance. And we're lucky enough to be able to pay for providers, but it's getting ridiculous in terms of the cost of those services and the lack of availability. So now I might just be using this group as therapy or going on my rant, but I'm struggling with that and wondering where that is kind of covered, if you will.
First of all, I hope you feel better soon. COVID brain is a very real thing. Yeah, I so identify with that. As the parent to a neurodivergent child myself, when we moved recently, I had a really hard time finding new care for him. Specifically on payment types, currently everything in that filter ranges from self-pay to like sliding scale to Health First Colorado to private insurance. So I hope I've covered all of them, but there is a pretty wide range represented there. And I think a combination, at least when I was searching for care for my kid, that insurance component and taking on new patients, accepting new patients were the biggest factors. So many of the folks I found that would have been a good fit were not taking on new patients. And I personally want to make sure that's not an experience users have on the site where, they finally seem to find somebody who can help them and they call and they actually can't. So yeah, it's going to be a combination of factors, but as far as payment type, that is one of the ways that you can currently filter.
Okay, so it will show like providers who don't take insurance as well as providers who do take insurance.
Exactly, yes.
But to your point, I completely agree. I'm currently trying to find services for our daughter who's 14 and on the spectrum and kind of has outgrown her current provider, needs someone more in the teen years, and I'm finding 6 to 9 month waiting lists. Anyway, sorry. little venting.
Alex and others who are keeping an eye on chat, do we seem to have some patterns emerging?
Yes, a few. So I am jotting down all of our notes. Thank you for the conversation around L. I think that that really ignited some additional commentary that we're seeing in the chat. I wanted to raise a few different comments that specifically called out the mere fact that it's hard to list resources that do not exist, and take that comment and commentary to share that we agree and we know, and this tool, OwnPath, is meant to be just that. It's a tool with which to find care, and that is not the solution to Colorado's current challenges. And the Behavioral Health Administration, of course, knows that. So thank you for saying that. We know it too. And also this feedback and the work that OwnPath pursues can help to inform those myriad of challenges that exist, that we know that there simply aren't the resources to list. So we're doing these things in parallel, appreciating that OwnPath is not meant to solve that challenge necessarily. All right. I think that is good for the chat now. If you have final comments, please feel free to drop them in. This conversation has been so incredibly helpful for us, and we appreciate you sharing your time and your expertise and your energy. Is there anything left, Karen, that we wanted to run through? Oh, yes, we do. We wanted to share the opportunity for additional feedback.
Yes, yes. This has been so valuable. Thank you so much to every single one of you. As I mentioned, the feedback form is linked from the footer of the site. So please, anytime at all, if you have questions, if you have a feature request for us, bug reports, again, Alex and I look at every single one together that comes in. We do have a round of user research coming up pretty quickly, actually, and they are still open to participants. At the moment, the group is specifically looking for advocates to join. There are 2 focus group sessions next week. And if neither of these times work for you, you can reach out. We'd actually be happy to schedule a one-on-one, and your time and expertise and perspective will be compensated. So there is a form, and I recognize you can't click on my screen. Do you have the form handy, Alex?
Yes, just dropped it in the chat.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. There's a form you can fill out if possible. If you'd like to participate or know of good folks who would potentially like to participate, please fill out the form by the end of this week, if at all possible, or very early next week. And Alex can also field questions on this as well, if you have any.
Quick question there on the advocates to join the focus groups. Do you mean provider types, or do you mean actual clients? What do you mean by advocate? I guess.
Oh, excellent question. Let's see. So they are looking for folks who work with, advocate for, or care about people struggling with substance use specifically. Here, I'm going to put, where is my patch? This is the first question on the form. And we are working with a third-party firm to conduct these rounds of user research. All right, well, Yumiko, keep us honest on time. Are we at a good stopping point?
We are. Thank you so much for the robust conversation and allowing us to provide feedback and be included in the process. I think inclusion is important and we're greatly appreciative of that. Certainly come back and let us know how things are working. And I do apologize on the behalf of you having to work with ladders. We all struggle with ladders. So I just want to say Laura's pain is real, and I was having a sidebar conversation. So at any point we can make ladders work, that would be great. And God bless you for trying to extract information from that site to OnPath. I'm sure it's not easy, but ladders is what we got. So learn and know your pain. That being said,
I saw that, Laura.
we're appreciative, so definitely come back. Is there anything else from our task force members, remaining questions for our state partners or Yomiko? Okay, I'm getting us out 30 minutes early. At this point, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I need a second.
I can second.
We're done. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Thank you
Bob.
all so much.
Thank you, guys.
Veterans Day, Thanksgiving. See you in December.